All right, we got the mic on. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024, and you are in the Java Cafe this morning for We Need to Know Wednesdays. We actually have a double header that I'm calling Races and Running. A couple of months ago, we had the opportunity to speak with a young woman who was running for a school committee. I believe it was in the shake your head in the background, Randolph, Canton. We'll find her. She was running in town. And we talked about things like identity politics. We talked about race. We talked about gender. We talked about life experience and progression in policy. And we know that we can presume often that the demographic of a municipality, a county, a state, a federal entity can lend to their construction of laws. It can lend to their creation of policy. And so we're going to talk about her race. We're going to talk about what she's learned. I will go ahead and say we're not going to necessarily tie these together, but Boston politics just got turned up. The mayor's race has today officially begun. Some of us are aware that one of the Kraft brothers has been around, and the Globe dropped an article today. So a lot of the murmuring that's been going on is now public. And so it's very interesting. However, we're going to talk with Tiye Core, and let me just bring this sister in. It's sitting right there. And I don't have the big screen and whatnot. So Tiye Core O, because I did get it right yesterday without seeing the flyer. I felt proud of myself. But good morning. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, happy Wednesday to you too.
So introduce yourself again for folks that didn't meet you before. Excuse me. And tell us a little bit about what you were aiming to do. We will say that unfortunately, you weren't successful in the race, but you were successful in applying lessons learned, maybe from the race. And so please introduce yourself, say good morning, and we'll jump into the conversation. And folks, we do have a second half today. Coach Yvel from the 5K Road to Wellness race that's coming up in September, hence Races and Running for today's doubleheader. He'll be with us in a 9:30 hour. And so Tiye, greet the folks and say hello, and let's talk about the wonderful race you ran.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tiye Core O. I ran for Foxborough School Committee, and my background is
Hold on. I would not be my authentic self without, and you'll get this correlation.
Okay.
I just named that Boston politics just got interesting. Josh Kraft, maybe running for mayor, and you're from Foxborough. Okay, proceed.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Kraft name. My background is in education, so I've throughout my professional career worked as a teacher, an administrator, director of curriculum and instruction. I'm currently an adjunct professor at Wentworth Institute of Technology. So yeah, very rooted in education. That's always been something that I really, I loved being involved in, especially in advocacy for students of color. And yeah, it's work that I do regardless of the outcome of the election. So that's something that I definitely highlighted, I guess, in my campaign.
Well, I mean, another thing, let's be real, that you highlighted was your experience. Yeah. Your tenacity to freely move within these spaces due to your own personal experience, being trained to be an educator, an advocate in the space of academia. But things in races are interesting. And so, as we stated, you were not successful. And I would love to hear your commentary on your reasons as you think why. There, are some valid sort of surface political reasons, first time candidate, blah, blah, blah. But there are some, were there some other dynamics by your perception that were at play?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that I wasn't successful. I had a very successful campaign.
Yep.
But I think the election reflected voters' desires outside of education. If I'm voting for someone for school committee, I'm looking at experience. I'm looking at their success rate as far as the work that they've already done. I'm looking at what I think they can bring to a committee where we're discussing education policy, managing an almost $45 million budget, supervising a superintendent. So someone with the most experience, who can articulate their goals around that, who is aligned with the stated mission and strategic plan for the district, that's who I would vote for. Yeah. And I think the results of this election just showed that voters who voted for the winning candidates, their focus wasn't necessarily on what was said or shared about their abilities and capacity to speak to that, to speak to the policy that would be instituted, to speak to budget management. So let me clarify. So throughout the election, there were 2 seats that were open on the school committee. 2 of the people that were running were incumbents, so the then chair and vice chair. I ran, and then a current 18-year-old high school senior ran. And the winners of the election were one of the incumbents and the high school senior who's about to graduate. So for me, that spoke to the fact that, at least for one of those seats, education policy experience was not the priority there for voters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nothing against the candidates themselves. I think everyone ran a really great campaign and everyone wanted these positions. But for voters, it was just really, it revealed a lot around the people who were voting and what their goals were. And for this election, I don't think that the goals were, or the priorities were put on that experience that would be an asset to our committee.
Let's just name a couple of things. The incumbent, there's presumption that there's experience. Presumption. Yeah. You don't know what their work was before being on the committee. Right. I will say that, as always a youth worker in my heart, and I think you can appreciate this, we can give some validity and credit to the fact that having someone that just came through the system that is most impacted by the policies, having that youth voice, I think is relevant. However, in a time, that one can go sort of either way.
Yeah.
Just by my opinion with the young person. But anyone that heard you speak about your experience, your training, your education, yourself.
Yeah.
And let's just ask, without, being accused of this identity politics thing. Can I ask you, and you may have not asked them, so I'm going to throw this word in so folks don't mess with me, presumed demographic of both winners. Were they of color? Were they women? Were they, let's talk about that, because I think that is hugely important when we talk about candidates and their experience and ability to speak to policy. What were their presumed demographic?
So the incumbent who won this election is a white woman. Okay. And the other seat was a young white man.
Okay.
Which, again, I was the only person of color running for a seat. So I mean, we can go into the experience of campaigning and all of that. Yeah. And I don't want it to seem like the entire experience was negative, because it definitely wasn't. Which I also want to make sure that I highlight as well. But yeah, like it would be very naive of me to ignore the fact that I'm a Black woman running for a position that is a big deal in this town. I mean, a big bulk of the town budget goes to the schools. So whoever's representing and making the decisions on that committee needs to know their stuff. So yeah, those were their demographics.
We can thank you for the demographic. Let me ask you, with the demographic of the winners, I'm sure you know this, the demographic of either the recent past, current, and I'm sure whether they did it or not, you've probably looked at the um, advancement or progression of color BIPOC students in the Foxborough area. Where is that to correlate the demographic and experience of your voice in this leaderful place of the Foxborough School Committee? Can you speak to us a little bit about that demographic?
Yeah, there's definitely disparities. So right now, in the schools, I don't want to give an inaccurate number, but it's less than, I'll just say it's less than 25% students of color.
Okay, in Foxborough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And as far as school leadership, as far as faculty, nowhere close to that amount. And so, yeah, for the people who came out and actually did support my campaign, that was something that they understood. And they understood the power of representation. They understood not only just with a face of a Black woman, but someone who knew their stuff, like someone who had the background, who could speak to different groups of people, who had experience as a student, a teacher, an administrator, understood that decisions made at the policy level would definitely impact all of those other stakeholders. So I agree with you. I think that a young person who has the experience as a student, who has experienced policy at that end, is definitely an instrumental voice. And I think that somebody who has that experience, along with all of these other levels of stakeholders within education, and can speak to that as well. When I'm weighing how I would want somebody to make decisions and what would be considered, I would think that somebody who has the most experience, the most well-rounded experience, would be able to speak more broadly to how those.
And with some intentionality of presumably some voters being aware of the climate, you know, you would think experience coupled right with, we want some intentionality, because as you said, representation matters. So at least I'll be honest and transparent. When you said less than about 25%, well, I said, well, one person on a school committee that may reflect some of that demographic, that may be at 25%. But then you went on and said faculty and administration doesn't even, so less than 25% for the students, but even lower for faculty, administration, and representation on the school committee.
Yeah.
With representation matters, and you started out by saying this, and first of all, everyone, you can tell someone's commitment to the work when they get in a race, and then if not, and I love how you clarified that you did not win the seat, but you were successful. Wow. Even if a person doesn't win the seat, one of the things that you can tell about their character and commitment to the work is whether they win or not, they're still going to represent. And so as we get ready to bring our other guest in a few minutes, how are you going to ensure that less than 25%, then, you know, the whatever number of administrators and faculty that want representation, how are you still going to show up in Foxborough and represent the students? As a parent, how are you still going to step and move in your power? And let's also say lessons learned, name recognition, notoriety. And so I don't know what the cycle is. I don't know if you want to go into it now, and you know, but go ahead. First question, how are you going to still show up and represent for your community and your constituency?
Yeah, I'll start with lessons learned. I think that's really important to all of this. So coming into the campaign, I had lived in Foxborough for 2 years. I'm sure people knew me by my face, but people didn't know me personally. They didn't know what I did, where I lived, what my involvement was in anything. And so with this campaign, all of that was put out there. You know, whenever I went to, the theater is right down the street, so I go to a lot of the plays and musicals that the kids put on. And so whenever I was there, like, people recognized me, and it was kind of weird being now someone that people actually like knew. But lessons learned in that, as far as running and involvement in the community, this is a really small town, and so news spreads fast. So if people know you, if people have thoughts about you, good or bad, that information is going to spread. And I think that with this campaign, when I was in touch with people who actually supported what I was doing, word spread really quickly. And so I found really quickly a community of people who really, really supported and stood by what I said and what I professed. I had 883 votes. I didn't speak to 883 people throughout this campaign. So word really did pick up. In that same vein, on the other side of things, people who did not want to see me win a seat made that very clear as well. So in-person interactions, no one came up to me and had negative things to say, but social media was brutal. Discussion pages on social media where people took writing that I did 6 years ago about white privilege and published to Blavity, right? And then shared those articles out of context in spaces. Yeah,
you got trolled. You got trolled.
It turned into a smear campaign. And as you know, with that, when you share information and people don't take the time to read or take up the invitation,
sound bites and micro clips.
Right. And so that's what happened. So it turned into a bigger conversation that was based on lies, like things that I never said. It turned into me wanting to teach kids to see color, me being a racist, me being too woke. Like it was just, that was one side of things. So as someone who was running my own campaign, right, I don't have a team of people to field through the responses.
Social media and
Yeah. So I'm seeing all of that. And I had to learn to tune that out because I did have this huge constituency of support and people who were fighting against the misinformation that was being spread. So the lesson learned there is just like when you find your people, make sure that you keep them close, make sure that you allow them to help you. They have the connections that I didn't have. And I think that opened the door for me to be able to communicate with people who otherwise wouldn't have known who I was and wouldn't have voted for me. I also think that the results of the election showed me that sometimes you just need the audacity to run. Even if you don't have the experience, run because you need to.
Let's clarify. The experience of a candidate.
Yes.
Not the experience in the office. Because, you know, people will try to take that and say, how did she say that? And the experience as a candidate. Let's just be clear so they don't troll you.
Yes. Yeah, just have the audacity. It's just like when you apply for a job. Sometimes you wonder how your boss got into a position when you know more than them. You can do a better job than them. You know you can. Yes. Yes. And you have to put yourself out there. And so in doing that, I think that was huge too. I had to be bold. I had to be outspoken about the things that I believed and really intentional with my language and how I spoke to people. I will say there was one person who approached me at one point when we were out holding signs on Saturday before the election, who let me know, like, the people over there are saying that you're saying XYZ about people in Foxborough. And that was the only time that someone came up to me with the negativity and wanted clarification. So a lot of it was that, you know, behind the scenes people were talking, but wouldn't come to me, wouldn't say to my face what it was that they had problems with. And I don't know, I don't know why that was, because I've never been in a fight in my life. Like, I don't understand if it was fear, if it was just, we can be really loud and bold behind the scenes, behind our keyboards. I don't know. But yeah, I think sometimes it's hard to tune that out when you're the person who's taking care of everything in the campaign, from fundraising to PR to social media, putting together your own signs, meeting with people, long phone calls, speaking at schools, like all of that. It's a lot of time-consuming tasks, but I think that if you have the commitment and you have the drive and you know you can do a great job and make a contribution, you should absolutely go for it. 2 more things.
The audacity to run. I see a little short, you know, little paper or something, white paper coming out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll post it to Blavity.
Go ahead.
I also think that really good mentors are important.
Yes.
So one of my mentors is State Rep Russell Holmes.
Okay.
We go to church together. We go way back. And I remember the first time I received a message from someone who was challenging me on speaking at the Democratic Town Committee meeting. I was like, how do I respond to this? Like, I don't even know what to say. And he really did mentor me through that. He helped me figure out fundraising. He gave me some really good advice on how to navigate the politics of all of this. And I think that if you have someone who's willing to be your guide or be your mentor, answer questions, give you advice, that's really instrumental. And then I guess my last lesson learned, I think win or lose, you can use that experience to your benefit. So obviously, if I had won, being on the committee would have been amazing, and being able to help contribute to those conversations and make decisions would have been great. But even with a loss, this campaign and this experience has really helped me realize I have everything that I need to do what I want to do as far as education leadership. And I've noticed that throughout that campaign, because people now know who I am, my name is mentioned in rooms that I haven't even entered yet. And so I'm seeing other opportunities opening up. So I don't know if I'll run again next year. We'll get to next year and see how things look. But as far as opportunity, as far as people understanding that like you have something that you can contribute, you are needed in positions of leadership and in the decision-making seats, I don't think anyone should take that for granted. Even if it's not this right now, God may have other plans for you, and it's okay to sit back and just watch that stuff fall into place.
I'll share with you what a former colleague of State Representative Russell Holmes, former State Representative Carlos Enriquez, he and I were talking yesterday. I shared on Monday. I encourage you to go back and watch the episode. I kept it very real about two spaces that I'm in making the decision. Do I fight from within? Where you're within the system, there are certain confines and certain limitations on your fight.
Yeah.
Or do you make a decision to step out of those systems, take all the lessons learned, take all the connections where your name is still mentioned in certain rooms, and fight from without, with inexperience, without the limitations. Yeah. And so, you can still impact policy. Yeah. Without the confines of within the conditioned systems of, all right, I'm not going to get too far into that because we have another guest coming and I want to bring that energy.
But I was ready for the sermon.
Don't do it because Coach Yvel would get me. But no, if I can be honest with you, and I'm stuttering, and so that means that I'm excited. I, as someone who is certainly not a novice in the political arena, becoming an expert, I used to say not an expert, becoming an expert, there's even a difference in your cadence, in your interviewing, on the political realm. If you go back and watch your first video and this one, there is, and so you were successful. Ooh. You did win. And the fact that your name is being mentioned in rooms just by notoriety. Delay does not mean denial.
Yeah.
So she said, amen. We about to go. Tashad is in here screaming. Oh, just a quick side note. Boston Wild Black membership is open as of today. So make sure you go get your Boston Wild Black membership. Free plug. The mayor of Boston Wild Black. But Tiye, I definitely want to encourage you and thank you for stepping up. I think that you have set an example. You don't know what little girl, what little boy from Foxborough is watching you, from Boston, from wherever, and even someone that may see you on here to see your story. So thank you for all that you do. We're getting ready to bring in Coach. I keep saying Yvel. I think it's Coach Yvel. Okay, got it right. But Coach, we had this. I turned today's theme into races and running. This sister from Foxborough ran for school committee. She was successful, though she didn't win the seat. She was still successful. And so any words you would like to share with her from a coaching, running the race perspective, and then we'll chat with you about the 5K.
Well, if we just think about the concept of running, listen, just stepping to the line was awesome, because if you don't run, then you don't know what kind of changes you can make. So, and I read your profile and I saw some of that along the way. So kudos to you. If you never get to the starting line, you never know what the finish looks like. So at least now you know what the arena looks like. So Tiye, continue on doing, what you're doing, especially that you're in the Foxborough community. It doesn't matter. We are everywhere.
Yeah.
It's your footprints and let people know you're here.
Thank you.
All right. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiye. We will be in touch and keep us abreast of what you're going to do and
I
how
will.
you represent in different areas.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Absolutely. Coach Yvel, good to see you in the room again. I think you've been with us once, so I've announced the 5K and supported it so much, but good to see you in the room. How are you, sir?
I'm alive and well, you know, and I'm glad to be able to say it another year. I'm alive and well.
Yes, sir.
You know,
yes, sir. And thank you for the encouraging words to our queen. It is just so important, and we don't hear it as much as we did a couple of years ago. But protect Black women.
Yes.
We got our wonderful sister Crockett, who's now becoming a whole trend on social media from a little statement that she made last week, and so it's important to do that. So thank you for your flexibility to coach that sister just in a few seconds there. So if you don't mind, please introduce yourself, say good morning to the audience, and then we're going to jump in to talk about this is what year is this?
So we're in 2024. This is the 10th anniversary of
this is 10 years.
Amazing, isn't it?
Jesus.
Time just moves along. It doesn't wait for anyone.
Don't remind me. Say hello to the folks and then we'll jump right in.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Coach Yvel, and I am the head coach at the Road to Wellness summer training series. And I'm here to really help inspire our community to live our best lives and be as healthy as we can while we're living this best life.
One of those things, and let's give a shout out to our good, and I know he's background, but our good brother Thaddeus Miles.
Yes.
This was a vision of his. He starts things and then he gives it off, and through partnerships and whatnot. And so this is not just a one-day event. Can we also just pause and name the date so folks know the date for the race?
So the date for the race is September 7th. All right. Okay. So it's usually the second Saturday, or the Saturday right after Labor Day.
Yep.
Okay. So
and
September 7th.
That's the event. Let's back up a little bit.
Yes.
There is so much that goes on before the actual event throughout the year, different other races. And so give us a quick skinny of what goes on leading up to September 7th this year. And then from September to December, what is the whole mission of Road to Wellness?
Well, as we started off, Jimmy, you know, we had to give a shout out to Thaddeus Miles because, you know, he set this off in motion, you know, about 10 years ago.
Yep.
Because, you know, we didn't have these things in our community. You know, our community are looking at other events going on, and they're like, well, you know, not me. I'm not, you know, this is really not for me. So talking about 10 years ago. Now we start this training, right? It starts off, you know, so kudos to Thaddeus Miles. We're able to establish a 12-week training program. Okay, because just because you're about to go run a race, whether it's politics, whether it's fitness or what have you, you have to do some training. So we kick off June 1st. It's the first Saturday in June 1st, and we're going to be meeting right here at the Dimock Community Center at promptly at 8:45 is when we start off. So again, now from that June 1st, we're meeting every Saturday. Okay, with the exception of I think the 4th of July weekend, we meet every single Saturday, and it leads off to an awesome graduation at the very end of August, where all the participants get to experience an actual live race, bibs and everything, sign up. You know, we hand out certificates of accomplishments at the end of the race, but we call it a mock race, you know, because
get ready for the main race.
Exactly. So we're here to prepare our community. You know, a lot of it is, you know, we're almost hand holding, right?
Yeah.
You know, someone's sitting on a couch and they're watching us right now, right? Versus how do you get them over here on the table with us, right? So we literally handhold them from that couch type, you know, posture to actually walking. So that, you know, from day one on June 1st, we're literally introducing people what walking, jogging, and running is all about, what moving is all about, okay? And we build up from there because, you know, how many of us listeners, the listeners out there, or yourself, Jimmy, know your 1 mile pace? Have you ever gone out there for a 1 mile walk or 1 mile run and pace yourself, time yourself?
That's a real question. No,
I'm throwing a question at you.
No. Rochelle Solomon is in the room, so I know she's sitting back. Jimmy, I don't know.
Well, no. But you know what? You gave the right answer. A lot of people don't know, right? So until you get up and you actually measure what progress looks like, you don't know what that is. So we start off walking a mile. Okay, maybe you know just feeling it out. Okay, but by the end of the month in June, we're actually doing a 1 mile time trial. So now after about 3-4 weeks of experiencing, you know, moving and pacing, you know, breathing techniques, stretching, what have you, fitness, and then we time you. So whether you're going out there, you're walking a 15-minute mile, okay, that's very realistic. That's very doable.
Okay.
A 12-minute mile, maybe very fast. That's more of a running pace, right? So if someone's running a 12-minute mile, okay, jogging 12-minute mile, so we have a base level as far as what that looks like, what that feels like. Okay.
So what I also hear is some level of evaluation.
Absolutely.
Give you a baseline to know where you're, so as you said, progress, to be able to know your progress. Because that is, I'll be honest with you, that is an encourager. If you can see that, numbers either going up or going down or whatever the proper progress is, that is an encouragement. So it's good to have the baseline. So you all do evaluation as well.
Yes. So, we have 5 great coaches. So although I'm the head coach, but we have 5 great coaches. So everyone brings something to the table,
Okay.
So whether you're a walker, for example, right? I mean, you may be a walker and just say, okay, well, all I do is walk. Well, we're not only looking at your posture, we're looking at footwear, we're looking at how can you be that better walker? Because when you're not walking for a purpose, right? It's a lot different than if you're just casually sauntering, trying to go pick up the mail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're stressfully trying to get to work and then you kind of huffing and puffing it, right?
Yeah.
So those are all different kind of walking. But if you know that today's walk is going to be 2 miles, okay, and you have to complete it, in a measurable amount of time where you put a little bit more fitness into it, now it's a different kind of focus because now your breathing changes everything, right? You're suddenly feeling aches and pains, maybe if you haven't prepared, in your calves, in your thighs, your breathing feels labored. That's not being prepared, right? But of course, when you go through the coaching program, we focus on how do we get our community prepared? And that's why we have 12 weeks. Now, let's say you miss a week or 2, right? Doesn't matter because we're still going to give you some homework, right?
Oh, there's homework.
We have a weekend training, but when you look at the real life, right, we have to go to work every day for some of us, right? Now,
Yes.
Whether you have a commute, okay, where it displaces you for like half an hour, what have you, or if you have a long commute, from your bedroom to your office, it's still a commute, right? How do we prepare for that? So we do a lot of preparedness and we do evaluate a lot of our community. And I think they get that world-class level coaching, right here, in Roxbury area. And they get it for free also.
That was one of my questions. And so someone that may have started out with you guys 10 years ago, and let's be honest, year 1, year 2, lessons learned, you add this, you take this away, you add this. You have a decade of this now. And so I'm sure that the model, or as a friend of mine calls it, the TikTok of it, is perfected. But someone that started out in 14 and is stuck with you is there anybody that you can attest to that you've seen like this is, and it's free? Let me back up so I can clearly articulate what I'm trying to say. You can get basically on a road to wellness for free, a hardcore 12 weeks leading up to September. But I'm sure I see the stuff you all post and do throughout the year,
right?
And it's all free.
Right. It's all free. Now, even though we throw that the word all free, to the viewers out there, nothing is free.
But there's sponsors, so let's give an opportunity for the folks you want to thank in the background.
Well, no, so we do have these. We have partners and what have you. But just to add on to the free, there's sweat equity involved. Okay, so
from
there
the
are
individual
in the background that enables us to be able to have this. To be able to host this. We have a great sponsor in John Hancock, for example. That allows us to be able to have the summer training. But when you look at it, although something is free, you have to step in. You have to step to the line and say, okay, hey, I'm ready for the training. Because just because it's free, it doesn't just get injected into your body saying, hey, you're ready to run this race. You've got to put the time into it. And that's why we established a 12-week program. And you're right. Someone who started back in 2014, you are going to experience somewhat of a different program. Because every year we have to make improvements to the program. Mm-hmm. We have to review, how did it go last year? What was the outcomes? What was the feel? Because sometimes, we look at the outcomes based on time. Everyone has got to run a certain time, walk a certain time. Yeah. We have an amazing community out there, and we want our community. How do we tap into where you are? Because we have to approach everybody where they are.
That's right.
If you step over here right now and you say, wow, I've been diabetic. I have high blood pressure. Okay. Or, I have, I don't move so well. Right. Well, we got to see where you are and say, okay, hey, here's step number 1. Let's start from here. Okay. Because you're not going to know how far you can get until you get this general guidance. Okay.
Yes.
And of course, we have a great team of coaches, that range from, walkers, runners, fitness, life coaching. We have, national caliber athletes, as coaches also.
Yep.
So, come and take advantage of it. That's what we're doing.
Okay. So June 1st at 8:40. So I have to be honest. I don't know if you've been looking on social media. There are 8,344 events.
Yes. It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing. But I need, you'll appreciate this. I need good balanced stamina for the long race. And so every weekend we got 3 or 4 versus 8,000 on June 1st, nothing on June 9th. Anyway, that's my own commentary. Right. But June 1st, 8:45 a.m. at Dimock Community Health Center. I'm old school. That's the old name. Dimock Complex. What is it?
No, it's Dimock Community Center. No, you had that right.
Dimock Community Center.
Right
over on 55 Dimock Street.
Exactly. Jimmy, you're right on.
I used to run the teen center there. So I remember back when Jackie was there. And so 8:45 on June 1st, you had the opportunity to go and sign up for this training for 12 weeks. You get guidance. And I heard guidance, but I also inadvertently hear support. There's a support system in there with the guidance and the coaches and also the other folks that are part of this.
Absolutely. So just to give everyone a little context, even though we talk about Thaddeus Miles, he was the founder of this with HoodFit, but partnering with the Dimock has been like amazing because Dimock has strong, community roots.
Yeah.
Respect to the community. Like you said, you were here, with the team program.
Yep.
A lot of, programs that are run here at the Dimock. So a lot of our community are very familiar with the Dimock already. And those who aren't get great exposure to it, okay, on the campus. One of our partners is also on the BAA. So it's a trifecta partner. So the BAA is the Boston Athletic Association.
Yep.
So, the Boston Athletic Association as an organization that runs one of the biggest marathons in the world,
yep.
Right? The Boston Marathon, the Boston Half Marathon, a number of events. They're one of our technical partners, so with that trifecta of HoodFit, the Dimock and BAA, you can't go wrong. Right? So it's a world-class, program that we have as well as an event. But, let's talk about some of the, what are some of the highlights? Our participants are literally getting to experience our community in a different way.
Yeah.
Because as we're doing our training, although we started the Dimock, we're at Franklin Park, we at Playstead Park, we're at the Shattuck Grove. But when we actually do the race and even part of the training, we're going through historical Roxbury. It's like, imagine, you're just walking through Washington Street, but now you're experiencing jogging or walking through Roxbury in a different way.
Yeah.
Passing the Malcolm X Park, Marcella Park, Elliott Square. Some people know where these places are, but some people may not even be able to identify it because they pass by it all the time, but yet they don't know it. But this is what makes, this event so awesome because, we're taking our community into our community to experience it, from a different perspective. Again, these are just some of the highlights, but we do focus a lot on community. When people coming out, it's great that that, wow, I've been here before, I've walked through here before, I've gone to this and got services from this location before, but now the event is right there in your community.
There's a different intentionality there, that you're speaking to versus taking it for granted or advantage of it. With you talking about the history, just wanted to mention, I don't know if you heard of Live Like a Local tours. There's a brother by the name of Colin. I don't remember his last name. There might be another, you talk about partnerships. There might be another opportunity to partner because he brings people specifically in the Roxbury and highlights like the history there. So there may be an opportunity it's running, but maybe he can walk and run with y'all. And there might be an opportunity to do some things with him.
I'd probably love to, to have us collaborate on that, with that program.
Yeah.
I think one of the things with Road to Wellness too is, get partners.
Yes.
We have a lot of our affinity groups that are now, that come out. You just mentioned, shout outs to Rochelle who's out there.
Yes.
She represents, a number of things, but Black girl.
Rochelle's about to be a whole star commissioner, ambassador.
And we need that, we need the Rochelles of the community out here, but we get Black Girls Run out here. We have Black Men Run. We have a host of other organizations I could name who come out here and they become part of the Road to Wellness community. So although you mentioned, that there's a whole host of events going on all summer, but, we kind of, we put a pin drop, with the Road to Wellness, because it opens up. It's like an umbrella. We open it up to all organizations to come and join us, train with us,
Yep.
Just join the energy that is the community. Now, we have our inner city community because we want a lot of our folks coming out here, because we want to tackle that wellness. We want to tackle that mental wellness, the fitness wellness. But when we get the expanded community come out and other people are like, wow, okay, oh, so you run also, you walk also, oh, wow, you're Black, you're Latina, whatever background, the community is now us.
Yeah.
Because the community continues to change, but we want to be over there. Just, we want to be here experiencing all that just the same.
I definitely see the value in that. And I'm trying to see, okay, I wanted to make sure that folks not only seeing the value, but aware of the resource. And there was a question. So Belinda, to answer your question, and you lost a signal because we had a whole 2-minute dissertation on free 99. Wait, I lost my signal. How much is this? 12 weeks and who can join? There's not a monetary cost. There is a commitment that needs to be made for 12 weeks with flexibility of understanding, as Yvel said, understanding where you are as an individual. But right there in the comments is the hyperlink to the summer trainings, which leads to the first date that is taking place next Saturday, June 1st at Dimock Community Health Center. So you can go to that link and get that information. We've learned about community. We've learned about the support system. We've learned about partners and sponsors. Shout out to Jack and Lorna and them over at BAA. Rochelle is in the room as well, and Thaddeus. But this is something that's been, I can't believe it's been 10 years. I remember when Thaddeus just had like, hey, I'm thinking about, and I don't know why when it comes to him and Conan, I can't refer to them without putting on a voice, but Uncle Thaddeus like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this and da-da-da-da. And here we are, 10 years.
Well, the beauty of it is, we have to start with planting a seed. Thaddeus planted that seed.
Yeah.
It continues to grow with Dimock, with the BAA.
Yep.
But our community also continues to grow. So here it is. Now, some of us can understand 10 years. Some of us are still experiencing it as if it's brand new.
Yes, sir.
Right? So we have to keep this fresh for everyone. Whether you're coming in and, this is your 10th year, from the coaching team, we want to make sure that as you step in here, we continue to wow you with a welcome, especially, helping people get through better, healthy habits, taking manageable steps towards better life. Those are a lot of the targets that we try to, I shouldn't say target, a lot of the added values we try to bring in, to this entire program. So although it sounds like it's a training, it's almost like, coming out every Saturday morning and having a training party, right? Because when you think about a party, right?
That's a good way to frame. You get a little dancing going on, get some hydration.
You're gonna have some music,
Yes, sir.
We got to get people warmed up, worked out, cool down, and then set them off for the rest of the weekend.
Which actually helps sets a tone for the beginning of the week because you worked out. And it's
a de-stress, let the hair down type of situation. But so again, a lot of added value. But again, to our listeners out there, just come join us. Check out the website. I wouldn't ask you to just come out there and just check something out.
Yeah.
I look at it as this is, for some people, it's life-changing. But
yes,
what makes it life-changing? Because I think a lot of times people find that they're doing something for themselves. You can't be pressed that, oh, I gotta be here. You're there because you want to be.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at my banner over there, you have women, running there with their hands up. Imagine she has a story, and this is genuine joy. But you can't really tell someone, hey, you're gonna look like this. You've got to put the work into it.
You got it. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen by osmosis. And so I'm getting on the road. And I think the thing for me is and I did this some years ago. I lost a whole bunch of weight because I made realistic lifestyle for the rest of my life habits, some eating habits, not so bad that the doctor was like, okay, we need you to reverse. We need you to eat a little bit more. Cause I went straight like healthy and I lost a lot of weight quick, but I incorporated challenges that were realistic for me, that wasn't a diet, that wasn't a fad,
Right.
that wasn't a hype.
Right.
And so I'm in the process now of looking at where things are, you know, with the platform and reality of time and whatnot, of making realistic life changes. And it's this road to wellness is a little bit interesting, but the community that you guys have there, as Rochelle had just said 2 seconds ago, it's definitely a supportive community. And I've seen the evolution of this. And so we encourage folks to definitely sign up. The hyperlink is right there in the comments. And then for those of you to take screenshots of the resources, you can screenshot this real quick. And that is all the information for the Road to Wellness. The link that we have in the comments right now is really to the summer training program, but everything about the race and donations and sponsorship you can get at this link right here, generally for Road to Wellness. And so, Coach, I thank you, man, for being here with us today. And June 1st, I'm down at World Ocean Day, so I won't be able to come out, but one of the 8,000 or events on June 1st. Go stop by Dimock. Start out in the morning. You can, make a tour at a couple of the events on June 1st, but start out, and not just June 1st. Now, if folks don't make June 1st, can they pop in? Pat myself. Can they pop in at any point of the 12 weeks? What do you encourage? I don't even want to ask what you discourage. Is there any cap to jumping in the training, the 12-week training period?
So although we encourage people to start off from the beginning and join us throughout the whole 12 weeks, we have 3 different phases between June, July, and August.
Okay.
So, at least make make some aspect of the different phases, because phase 1 in June is a different prep than in July.
It happens in July, and then August, because the rigor and the, what is the word? The conditioning.
The conditioning, exactly.
Really up to, I know a little bit, may not participate.
And Jimmy, you've been doing pretty good, and hopefully
let me be honest. It's you get informed by the show. I don't just give the information out. I take it as well.
You got to take it in. So hopefully the listeners are taking all this in too, because, we're real people. And, sometimes people come in there intimidated by the coaches because they may have different accolades or accomplish certain things, but we're real people. The Boston Marathon winners are still real people. They put on their they eat oatmeal just the same way as we do.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate what you do. But, sometimes we do have to share. I think that's a lot of what we end up doing here too, in our training, because sometimes people see others and they're like, wow, they look great. How did they get to that success? Well, a lot of it is really, you just got to show up. And that's why even if you miss week 1 or 2, make sure, as Jimmy said, follow up on the website. It has the full schedule, because our schedule is not only at the Dimock. Okay. We start off at the Dimock, but the following few weeks, we're at the Playstead Park at Franklin Park. So we want people to come out. We're out there getting some fresh air, and we're out there doing our best. I want to see superstars come out by the end of August. All right. You may not come out as a superstar from the start. We're going to get you polished. By the time we finish, you'll be just right as that superstar.
Okay. Y'all go ahead and get out. Go to the website and sign out. Rochelle's in here. Mess with me, Rochelle. I'm booked a lot on Saturdays. Coach, thank you for being with us. We're going to get you off of here before Thaddeus comes in and tells me, James, you've been going to. I went to, I think it was 2020 or 2021, and I covered it, and so Thaddeus knew some of the shortcuts, and so.
We didn't hear that.
We were recording and stuff, and so I, in my own little way, I've been on iterations of the 5K.
Okay.
Wellness.
Well, listen, I appreciate you being honest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I thank you for being here with us, and as Pastor Marion said, thank you, Coach. And also, is it just running? Good question. Is it just running? There's other exercises, Belinda, training, stretching, conditioning, things like that. And so go to the website and definitely check it out. And then specifically for the summer trainings that are happening on Saturday, starting next Saturday, June 1st at 8:45 at the Dimock Community Health Center. And as Coach said, go to the website, because everything is not at Dimock. And so only 2 weeks from now, they're not there. No, go to the website and get the information. Sign up. That way, I presume you get emails. Is there a text
Yeah. So once you sign up, you'll be on our email list. So you get we have email as well as we have all of our socials. Whether you're Instagram,
Yep.
Facebook. Yeah. So just
Is
keep
there an app yet?
Sign up. Say again.
Is there an app yet?
We don't have an app yet.
But
we have all the information covered. So whether you to Belinda, you don't have to be a runner. Come in. If you could walk, we'll work with you. Okay. If you could jog, all right. So come in as you are. All right. We'll help mold you along the way, but come in with the willing mind, open mind, willing mind. Okay. And thank you, Pastor, for the shout out.
Yes. And Coach, thank you for being here and your commitment and all that you do. And at one of these Saturdays, I'll stop by. Well, listen, you're still doing programming on June 15th?
Yes, on that weekend.
That's the cookout weekend.
I know, but guess what?
Even more reason to be
never an excuse, because come on now, it's a cookout weekend. What do we need to do before we cook out? Get the body ready.
And after. Before and after.
Before and after.
All right, Coach. Thank you. One of these weekends, Rochelle, I may not go out to train, but I will come out at least cover and chat with folks there and maybe find out, from some folks that have been a part of it to hear directly from them.
Well, we'll love to have you. All right.
Okay.
We'll have a spot there for you, Jimmy.
Okay. All right, Coach. Thank you. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you as well.
You have a good day, man. Thank you. Listen, everyone, we had two great segments today. The first one with Tiye, and also wrapping up with Coach right now in reference to the 5K Road for Wellness. Listen, that's it for me, everybody. UCB members, you all get an hour today. Shout out to everybody that was watching on Twitter and over on Instagram as well. Steve Godfrey over there. Darian Johnson was in for a minute, and a couple of other folks, Erica Steves. Thank all of you that were watching on Instagram and also Twitter. We will see you guys tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning is just, actually, you know what? We did some switching around. So, as you all know, I'm away. We did some switching around. Tomorrow morning, we're doing tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., we're doing a special Java After Dark with the City of Boston's Director of Nightlife. She has a grant program that was just released, and she's been moving a lot in the background, getting some things done. As we talked about in the first segment, sometimes when you're in the system trying to do things, well, we're going to talk with Corrine Reynolds tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. And so with that being said, I'm taking a break tomorrow morning. The Java Cafe will be closed tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We will reopen tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. for a special edition of Java After Dark with Corrine Reynolds, the Director of Nightlife for the City of Boston. Again, we will not be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The Java Cafe will be closed. We will reopen tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. with Corrine Reynolds, Director of Nightlife for the City of Boston. That is it for me today, everyone. Yep, we sleeping in. So to Sharon's point, Sharon Cornelius, good to see you in the room. Sharon Cornelius, that's 3 times. I got a warning yesterday that there was air quality issues in Boston, and I just seen something else. What's going on with the weather? Let me go look real quick, and then I'm getting off of here before y'all be trying to go into an hour and a half. Weather in Boston. My location. Oh, it's going to be a nice hot 70s down here. I swipe over in weather, and guess what the next city that comes up is? Miami. 81 degrees right now, 87 today, and all sun all day in Miami, just to let y'all know. So I don't know what's going on up in Boston. It's not coming up in the phone. In some areas. Oh, so it's hot up there and hazy and all that. Okay. Y'all take care and be careful. Hydrate. Seniors, stay out of the heat. And if you don't have air conditioning, if it's that hot, I'm sure BCYF, I haven't heard anything about a heat emergency or anything. Wow. Okay. Sharon Cornelius, get off my Sharon's like, talk about Miami. Yep. And we'll be here for another 3 hours. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys. But yo, Sharon is so wrong. Did I say hi to Mama Java today? Hi, Mama Java. Listen, I'm getting off of here. Y'all have a wonderful day. We'll see y'all tomorrow. 7 p.m. I'm determined to get off here before 9:59. Where's the thing? See y'all tomorrow. Bye.